Are you living your life by design with intention? And does it really matter? Can architecting your life really bring you happiness, fulfillment, and joy? To hear our thoughts and more, stay tuned to this episode of The Den.
The Den, powered by the Lyons Group, a show dedicated to exploring hot topics in real estate, local happenings, and industry trends. We're a small team of professionals approaching $400 million in sales and nearly 2,000 local transactions. You're listening to time-tested experts and industry leaders. Here's a refreshing look at real estate happenings and more. Welcome to The Den.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Den, where we're going to take a little spin away from real estate. Maybe we can weave some real estate into this topic. But before I get to it, let me introduce my friends, my partners, my co-hosts, the fellow members of the Lyons Group. To my left, Paul, Hammy the Rockberry, Aspen the Ninja, Groen, and the boss, Shannon Martinez. My name is Ben No Plan Lyons, and I'm going to be hosting today's episode on having a plan. So maybe we should talk through it. Maybe I shouldn't kick it off here.
I think you are full of it.
Sandbagging. No, but I think
this is the only thing you don't plan.
That's right. I do wing it quite a bit, but I like this episode because the Den is real estate and more. And I think we really need to talk about some things that would help impact other people's lives beyond just real estate. And this topic came to mind, life by design. I think it's important that we think about your life, how you visualize it, and how you make it come to fruition. What's your ideal life? And I think too many people, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think too many people just kind of float through life without much of a plan. And there's regrets that are involved with that. But it's never too late. It's never too late to start architecting your life. And I wanted to get some insight because I haven't talked really much about this to any of you personally. So I'm curious to know, your thoughts and how you go about architecting your life and go from there. So Aspen, I'm going to kick off with you today. I know I like that look.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm supposed to look at.
I know.
Yes. Yeah. Too. So this, really is an important concept for people. And again, I think a lot of people are on autopilot, kind of like the Tesla. Right? You just sit in the driver's seat and let the car take you. But you really got to put in the directions. You really have to have a vision for your life. How important is, and you personally, I want to talk about you personally, how much time do you put into visualizing your life, your ideal situation, and then taking action to get there?
Honestly, like hours every single day. I think about like 10 years from now or 8 years from now, all day, every day. That's all I think about. I feel like everything I do, and you guys know I say it all the time. I'm like, I'm going to retire in 8 years. That's my plan. Mm-hmm. And whether it happens or not, that's not the point. I say it all the time. So whenever I'm making a decision, it's going to go towards that. Now, I do think you have to live at the same time. I mean, like we have a nice house. We have nice cars. We go on vacation. If I didn't do any of those things, would it get me closer to my goals? Absolutely. But you never know what's going to happen tomorrow either. So I think you have to kind of have a little balance in your life while still making intentional choices and moving towards your goals. I'm huge in goal setting, manifesting, whatever you want to call it. But then you can't just say it and wipe your hands of it and walk away. You have to do it every single day. Even if it's, and you know what I found though? The people, you find like-minded people. If you're constantly speaking, I'm going to do this. I will be here one day. This is going to be my future. Eventually, those same like-minded people gravitate towards you and everyone just starts building each other up. If you're around people who don't want to do that, I found they kind of try and bring you down a little bit and naysay and nitpick versus people just saying, yep, you can do it. Let's do it. And that's the kind of people I want to be around.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah. Very well said. I like that, it's woven into your life. I mean, you're saying that you think about it constantly. It's always on your mind. You're always thinking about what your ideal life is. And and you brought to the second point of that this is where Dave Ramsey and I split part. Because I used to be an ELP for Dave Ramsey, and I like a lot of the concepts that he teaches. But at the end of the day, life could be taken away from you tomorrow. Like, you have to enjoy life on the journey. The journey is the most fulfilling part, right? And so he is like very much like, eat beans and rice and do these things for 20 years. And then at some point you're going to live like no one else lives. That's where I split ways with him. You got to live today, and you've got to enjoy today in your life today to really be fulfilled, because the journey is most of your life.
You see it every day. People have that mindset, that almost frugality mindset, and they're just hoarding it away and making great decisions. But once you're in that mindset for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's really hard to break out. And now all of a sudden, you can't go travel anymore because you're too old, but you have all this money.
Yeah.
And for what?
Yeah.
And you've missed the opportunity where you may have had young kids, where you would have really enjoyed made memories. Yeah, exactly. It would have been a much better experience to do it then. And that's being intentional too, is being intentional that you're going to not only save for your future in that retirement, but you're also making time to enjoy the journey. You're making time to find those vacations and build the memories with your family.
Exactly.
Being intentional about that is just as important.
I would agree. What about the energy or time? Does it take energy and time to really craft a vision for your life?
I think so. Like Aspen says, you work on it every day. Every day you wake up with intention on what my future is going to look like, and how are the choices I make today going to change that? How are the choices that I make today going to get me to that eventually? I think I've had a lot of conversations with my kids or friends or whatever. And I say this all the time, it's not enough to say, I want to get good grades, or I want to lose some weight, or I'd like to save some money, or I'm going to buy a new house. You have to set that in motion. So just saying it over and over isn't going to get you what you want. You have to have those steps. If you want to lose weight, okay, I'm going to cut my calories. I'm going to bump up my exercise. I'm going to weigh myself every morning. I'm going to be more intentional about meditation and things that keep my stress levels down. You have to have these things in place to say, how am I going to get there? My kids would always say, I'm going to do better in school. Of course, they never would. But how would I say, well, what does that mean? Yeah. Are you going to spend 20 minutes after school every day working on the things that you're not good at? Are you going to reach out to your teachers and let them know more often what subjects you're struggling in? Are you going to, put down the video games the last 30 minutes so you can maybe do some, mind resting and things before you go to bed so you get a good night's sleep and you wake up better? You're going to make sure you have breakfast before you leave the house in the morning. Like, what does that mean? But I think people don't think that through. They just make the plan. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to retire early. I'm going to do better in school. I'm going to lose that weight.
And it takes time and energy. I mean, it really does. Forcing yourself to sit down and kind of audit what you're doing on a daily basis, and then having it on the back of your mind or on the forefront of your mind throughout the day. I mean, it should be toggling back and forth. It should always be on the back of your mind, but sometimes it should be the forefront of what you're doing. Like, this is by design. This is what I'm thinking. And it takes time. It takes energy. It's not easy. So if you're architecting your life right now, if you're designing your life and what your ideal day is, I would say start there with your ideal day. What does your ideal day look like? I mean, everything from how you wake up, how you interact with your family, what are you doing that excites you during the day, and then how you cap it off in the evening and when you go to bed. I mean, if you can visualize that and really put some effort to it, it can happen very quickly. But I really think action is the universe's language. I mean, we can visualize, like you said, Aspen, we can visualize and we can create all the stories in our mind and the ideal picture. And then some people go, I'm done, right? How important is action in this part of the equation? Paul, take that one.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
On that one. Action.
Well,
yeah, you have to put your plan into action.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the things that you've accomplished in your life, from the weight training to, just everything that you've done.
My life looks pretty planned out. I would say from the outside, I think it's not. So I'm kind of the opposite. I'm not a huge goal setter. I have what I would like to do. I more take life one decision at a time. It's like kind of like AA or something like that. Every choice I make is this for, what my goals are. If my goal is to, succeed in business or something like that, is this choice to go and do something that's not working, is that going to help me get to where I'm at? If it's not, then, you can make the plan, but a lot of times staying on the plan is the hardest part. Because you get all these distractions that'll try to take you away from it. And what I've found is usually have more fulfillment, because that's the other thing. What's actually your goal? Is it to be a millionaire, or is it to be financially free? Is it to be, head of a huge company, or is it to have the freedom to make choices that will affect your life in a positive way? So those are different things. You know what I mean? So when you set the goal, I always try to think in those abstract terms, because then that gives me the freedom to say, I have to veer off my plan because somebody in my life needs extra time, or this conversation today needs more time and the rest of my day has got to go away because this is the most important thing. I've had times in my life where I'm like, I just need somebody to tell me where I'm supposed to be going. Mm-hmm. And then you realize that there's this thing that's been yelling at you the whole time. And I always say it's like a 2x4 that's beating me upside the head. And I just go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go do that now.
Yeah.
I have a loose plan, but the action part of it is a daily intention to do what's best towards your goals. Yeah. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And so you have a little bit more, and this will appeal to our analytical viewers, is you take a little bit more of an analytical approach. Like, am I on the path, mm-hmm. right? That I've kind of created this vision. Am I on the path? Every step, everything that I'm doing, does it contribute? Am I looking through the lens of my ultimate goal, right? And I think what you keyed in on is very important, because a lot of people are like, well, I want to be a CEO. Well, why do you want to be a CEO? So I can make a ton of money. Well, why do you want to make a ton of money? Well, so I can have the freedom to travel with my, well, why do you want to travel? Because I want to enjoy my family. So you're four questions deep right there. And you're starting to peel back some layers of the motivation. Then you have to say, okay, well, if your goal is to have some freedom financially to spend time with your family, is the CEO role the right move for you? Because that could work against you.
Right. Yeah. And you could take years and years and years going down a path that actually doesn't serve you, that actually ties you to a job or something that, doesn't serve any of the goals that you had. Yeah. And I think that's the hard thing when you're picking your goals. That's why I try to keep it a little bit more abstract, to say, these are the feelings I want to have at those summits. Once you reach the goal, this is how I want to feel. This is how I want to be able to act. This is how, I want to reverse engineer this. I want to be content. I want to be fulfilled. I want to have, whatever those are, spiritually, financially, family, all of those things, and then work backwards on that.
This is such a great conversation. And I have so many follow-up questions because, unpacking what you just said, there's a lot to unpack there, but I want to jump to Aspen here because Paul mentioned something. How much does emotion play into the vision for your life?
For me, not too much, honestly, because I think I want peace in my life. And that's kind of what I try and look at things more analytically. I don't make too many decisions just based off emotion, but I am big in trusting your gut and going with that. And I mean, that could be anything. I think I'm pretty vocal. If I want to be friends with someone, I pursue them as a friend. Paul knows we didn't know each other. And then we became pretty good friends just because I am intentional and I'm on you. And I'm like, all right, no, I see you for who you are, and we're going to be friends. Same for this group, but it just felt right. So I think emotion does have something to play in it, but I don't really know if it's emotion or if it's trusting your gut and just making a decision, not only because it feels right, but because you do really think it's the right move in the long run. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you should do things just based off of emotion, but I don't think you should ignore your emotions either.
Sure, mm-hmm. Sure. And you're constantly reminding yourself of the path, mm-hmm. right? Because that's the thing that you were saying originally, and what Shannon was saying earlier, is that you're thinking about it all the time. So you have to, it takes work.
What kind of parent do I want to be? What mm-hmm. kind of spouse do I want to be? Friend? How do I want people to perceive me at work? Do I want, it's everything. And you can't just say, oh, I'm a good ethical person and people are going to see me that way and then go do slimy things. It just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. You have to do the day-to-day action plans. I feel very strongly about making your life how you want it to be. And like Paul said, you're not going to do the exact same thing every day. It's not a one-step plan or everyone would do it.
Yeah.
It's going to have ebbs and flows and you're going to change directions. I know I could never work a 9-to-5 office job. It just would not fulfill me at all. And I like to have ideas and I like to try different things, and that just doesn't suit me. So it might help with my retirement plan a little bit more, but I couldn't do it on a day to day. So maybe that's an emotional decision.
Yeah. And you're able to act, and you have the freedom to act on your passions when they come about, because you're not necessarily in a 9 to 5.
Yep.
And it takes risk, and it takes grit, and it takes gut to not be in a 9 to 5. But that's part of the architecting your life and life by design. Shannon, how granular do you get? Like how much in detail do you get when you're setting a vision for your life?
I think that you should be very detailed. I think there's a reason why, and I'm not endorsing any specific program or anything, but there's a reason why the most successful people, the most fulfilled people, they all follow the principles of things like The Secret or one of those kind of platforms, There's a reason why, because you have to be very detailed. You have to know what it really is that you want. You can't just say, I just want to be happy. What does happiness mean? What are the things that are going to make you happy? And then you have to break that down. What are the things I have to do to be there? Do you have to remove toxic people? Do you have to build better relationships? Do you maybe need some therapy? Do you need to, improve your home life? Anything from, do we just take away cell phones from the kids so we have more quality time together? What is it? It has to be pretty detailed what that means, I think, or you don't have a way to make it happen. So many people, I think, start their adult life and they go all the way to the end of their life with a plan for what they wanted, but they never set a plan to make it happen. And so, it doesn't ever really come to fruition. I'm always chasing the idea of having a happy marriage, but I never really had it. But what did you do? I just kept talking about having a happy marriage. Yeah. I think you have to be very granular. I think you have to really be specific on what does that mean? What is it that I want when I say that general question? Exactly what does that look like? And exactly how do I get there? Otherwise, you're never going to get there. You're just always, you can wish all day long and it's never going to get you what you want.
And sometimes those change, right? It has to be fluid. It has to change a little bit. But I think you're right. You got to get granular on what you feel is the priority in your life and what do you want to have in your life. I just think about, the vision boards I've done over the years. Yeah. And I did one years ago. This was 15 years ago. And it's funny because I pulled it out, a little while back, but before I get to that part of it, when I was doing the vision board, I would go through and cut out magazines and stuff like that. And then I had all this clippings. And then I was like, I would hold up each thing and there was no emotion. So I'd be like, it looks good, looks cool, it's shiny, no emotion. And then I would go through and I'd find the ones with the emotion. And then I would sift through those and get to even more emotion. And finally, when I had like that emotional connection with these images, boom, I put them on a board and I had that up in my office. And this was stuff I would have at the time would have never dreamed possible for myself. Years later, that is like base level for me. It was incredible. I pulled out my vision board. I had accomplished everything on that board, but I had accomplished it after I put it away. Right. So I had it in front of me for so long. And then I just, stuck it in a drawer. And later, it almost brought me to tears pulling that out and going, holy moly, like this really works.
And it may not have been in front of you on your board, hanging in your office every day to look at, but it was in you. You had already laid the foundation for that. You had already got your ideas. You knew what it was that you wanted, and it was still in you, and you were pursuing it every day, which is why when you pull it out all those years later, it's there and you think it wasn't in front of me every day, but it was right there.
Mm-hmm.
You had that every day because you were intentional every day about still pursuing that.
And I've got to give some credit to my wife for this, because sometimes when I try so hard at something, she's like, you're focusing on it too much. Let it go. Like, that's the direction you want to go, like release it. And so after that point, when I did that, I released it, is when things started coming easier and things started happening. So I'm curious to see if you all have noticed that in your lives as well, when you're focusing so hard on something and it may be like continuing to push away from you. Have you experienced that at all?
Yeah, I think I saw something on the internet. I'm sure everybody's seen it. It said something to the effect of, what you have today is what you were praying for 10 years ago. And it is so true. We tend to, we have, and maybe we even have today what we were wishing for. We still have better wishes now and bigger ones out there and more things we want to pursue. But we don't even realize that right now we are living our dream. this was our dream at one point. At one point, it was completely out of reach. And we never thought we would be on a successful podcast with 50,000 viewers.
No, it's 50. 50.
50. Oh, man. She had a few extra zeros.
You're going to ruin this for me. But whatever it is, we never dreamed that we would be living in the homes of our dreams, and that we would be, an income that was sustaining the lifestyle that we wanted. We'd be traveling with our family. You always wanted those things, but didn't think of that. And right now we are also sitting here thinking of what the next 10 years is going to bring and the other things we want, not even monetarily, just, what we want. I always talk to my kids when they were little, about you pursue money, not because you want to be selfish, because they always thought that, not because you want to be selfish, but because you look at all the things you could do with it. Money brings security. Money brings freedom. Money brings help. I mean, I help people in my community. I take care of people other than the people under my roof. I can do things with that. And so, but before, when I was pursuing money, it was because I was living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet, and I wanted the money so that I could have what I needed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the bar does move forward. It does change and our dreams change. But we also have to stop and realize that what we have today is exactly what we were wishing for 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, what we had was exactly what we were wishing for 20 years ago. And if you're intentional, you will keep pursuing that, and you will keep meeting those benchmarks and setting them higher. And the more you do, the better you can do.
I think
you and your family and everyone.
You said you can help more people now. And I think that also is part of being intentional. Mm-hmm. I want to live in a community that is people-centered, that helps the people in the community. So you need to go out and volunteer. Because that's you. You're the person. You're the one that's going to help people. Mm-hmm. You can't wait for somebody else to do it. If you want to live in that place, do it.
Right.
Go do it. It could be anything. If you want to live, like our last podcast, we were talking about landscaping. You love gardening. Start a gardening club. Mm-hmm. It can be it doesn't have to be money focused. It can just be finding a community of like-minded people and being intentional with the people you surround yourself with and the things you want to bring to your community. And it doesn't have to be retirement, money, expensive, fancy things. Right. I think that's maybe a pro of some of this stuff, but that's not really the goal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and money can come in a lot of forms, because really when a lot of people correlate money, they're like, I want the money to have, this type of to be able to garden like this. Well, like you said, the form of money when you don't have the money is you go do it and you get around people that garden like that. And then all of a sudden that gap has been filled and you're living that without the money. Right. You don't have to have that. And the other thing is, this is something I had to work through for many years, is correlating money with, bad, right? It's bad. Only bad people have all this money. Right. And that was largely due to just, how I was raised per se, and the culture that I was raised in was that you had to do these bad things to get a lot of money. And that's totally false. And in fact, it goes back to what you're saying, Shannon. If you want to be, exercise your philanthropy that's a big word for me, Paul. Mm-hmm.
I know. You're all right.
Yeah, I know.
I was impressed. That you
if you want to exercise your philanthropy in a community through donations and setting up scholarships and whatnot, that is a healthy, wonderful thing that comes along with money.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a negative connotation with it. Yeah. Like I said, my kids always felt that way. I think they are teaching that a lot more in school nowadays. Rich people are evil. That's not true. With money, with power, comes, you can do better in your community. You can help.
You're going to say it.
What?
Great responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, you were almost on a Marvel show there.
But you can take care of your aging parents and their needs, instead of worrying about them every day. With money, you can make sure that your kid is getting that extra tutoring. We were very fortunate. We went broke doing it, but we were very fortunate to put our kids in Sylvan. Our boys struggled in school. Sylvan is expensive. And when you're paying, like $5,000 a kid every summer to put them in Sylvan, and they're coming out going, I don't want to go today. You're thinking, do you know what I'm pouring in you right now?
You're going to go and you're going to like going.
Right. So, but that's always been my idea, with power, with money, you can do great things. It doesn't have to be ugly and evil. And I think we've taught the young people that a little bit too much, aim high. You can be a great person. You can do so much when you're in a position to do it. It's like the oxygen mask, take care of yourself, and then you can go out in the world and be better and do better.
Something you both keyed into, you were talking about Moran telling you to take a step back, and you saying you can push your kids and like, they don't want to go. They probably didn't like going, but I'm sure they're thankful that you did it now. And I think that's one thing that is important too, is doing the hard work in your family center. Like Bryson is one of the hardest workers I've ever met in my life. If he sets his mind to something, he is going to do it, period. But I'm kind of a little bit of a lazier person, but he was such a hard worker. So it goes hand in hand. Like I feel like his goals have raised and my work ethic has raised just by being around each other. I have a son that has a really hard time in school. He does not like the tutoring that I put him in every summer. You're going to appreciate this one day. You know, chores. You got to have a work ethic. Respect. You have to be respectful to people. You have to put in the work. Parenting to raise people that are also going to have similar or hopefully better values than even you do. It takes so much work. Everything worth doing takes work.
Life by design.
And I'll say this too, and I want to make sure we get this in the podcast, is when you have that design and that path that you're on, I see a lot of high achieving people really get bogged down by that goal that they're not reaching. And then it derails them because it's depression. I'm not there yet. I should have been here already. All those types of things. They're not living life like we talked about at the beginning of this podcast. They're focused so much on that end that they're not doing the daily work. And the more you don't do the daily work, the further away the goal gets. Or
maybe, Paul, let me get your thoughts on this. Maybe they're doing the daily work, but they've had their head down with a shovel for so long, they haven't taken the time to stand up and look around and go, wow, look at what I've accomplished.
Yeah, and you say that all the time.
Celebrate that, right?
Yeah.
And
enjoy
maybe it's
that.
a 10-year goal and you're like, I didn't hit it in 10 years, but you're right there.
Yeah.
Maybe in another year or 2 or 5.
And if you
You're
had
gonna be
never
there.
set that goal, you wouldn't be there.
You'd be way back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what people don't realize is set the goal. Even if you don't hit it, you got something to aim for. You're going to do better than if you had set nothing at all.
Yeah.
1% better every day.
That's it. And I love that image of the guy he's underground digging a tunnel and like he gets right to the edge of like the big gold mine and he turns around. Like, I've just been digging for too many years. I'm done. And you're like, no, you're a foot away. Like, keep digging. And I think that's the process, is that you just continue to go. We're going to continue to live, right? We're going to live all the way through until we pass on. And that's okay. But why wouldn't you live by design? And that's my question. That's what we posed today. If you're watching this episode, take some time. It's not easy. If you're feeling like that's hard work, welcome to the group, because we roll our sleeves up. We want to live by design. And let me tell you, it's really fulfilling when you do it. And it's hard at first, becomes a habit, becomes ingrained. At some point, you do it without even knowing that you're doing it. And then you can walk around your life and go, man, I love this. And now I can add a little here or add a there or tweak a little bit here. And I think that just comes with age and maturity.
I'd been doing the 9-to-5 for a long time, and you guys brought me in years ago and gave me the freedom to actually live a life that I could design for myself. So I thank you all for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And hey, happy birthday to you, Paul.
Yes.
Birthday, Paul.
Congratulations.
29.
74.
Man.
You are getting up there.
And he won.
Still look good at 74.
You do.
You were People's Choice, right? Of the
Judge's
Choice. I'm sorry. Judge's Choice of the Chili Cook-Off, the Great Realtor Chili
This is
Cook-Off.
just your week.
I know.
Yeah.
By design.
Killing it this week.
Yeah. How much did you lift this morning?
I didn't.
Well, you got to take a day off now, right?
Good for you.
Yeah, Superman's got to take the rest every once in a while. Well, let's wrap this episode up. What a fantastic conversation. I love this because at the Den we talk about real estate and more, and this is the more part. Be intentional with your life. Design your life. It takes work. It does. And it's hard. And it's a little uncomfortable, but put emotion behind the vision for your life. Really ask yourself the questions. If you're trying to achieve a certain position or what are you trying to achieve? Why? Ask yourself, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions deep on why you're trying to do that, because that may change the trajectory. You may realize, well, maybe that position doesn't serve me, or whatever I'm trying to accomplish may not serve me what I really want in my life. So take the time to discover that for yourself. You owe it to yourself to do that. Take the steps and know that it's a little bit of work. It's hard work, but it's fulfilling. It brings you joy, and welcome to the company, because I feel like people that are successful and happy, truly happy in their lives, take the time to design their life and continue to act upon it, because action is the universe's language. You can have all these great thoughts, but you have to put some action behind it, and just know we're right there with you, lockstep. So thank you for listening to this episode of The Den. If you like our content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, go to our Facebook page. We've got TikTok, we've got Instagram. We have a great newsletter that we send out on a weekly basis. It has all kinds of current information. We love your comments. We love your feedback, and we'd love to sit down with you and schedule a consultation. If you're looking to buy or sell a property, we'd love to work with you and give you an advantage in today's market. So until next time, we'll see you in the Den.
Thank you for listening to The Den, powered by the Lyons Group. Hit the subscribe button to keep informed on real estate happenings. If you'd like to learn more about the Lyons Group, visit sjcbroker.com. Complex markets require complex strategies. The Lyons Group can give you a true advantage in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, contact us directly at sjcbroker.com. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in the Den.